So I got my skulls in. This is the skull that's gonna be my mask. So I ordered the largest one I could find on Amazon. And when I got it, and I saw it's kind of the size of my head. It's a little small. I immediately thought, oh, I searched for skulls. So I searched for skull mask, something that would have fit over my face. The first one I saw on Amazon looked absolutely beautiful, perfect. I loved it. And I was about to click purchase when I was like, well, let me just check out the user reviews. And what it is that in the pictures, it looked like a hard plastic mask. It actually is latex. While it looked beautiful in the pictures, when you go to the user reviews, the pictures, it looks like a balled up sock. I mean, absolutely terrible. And most skull masks are latex. Now, really, I need the hard plastic because this is going to be on my face. I don't want it deforming. I don't have to try to maintain a shape. And there aren't any hard plastic skull masks, at least none that look good. Like, I want one that looks like a skull. I mean, this looks good. It's not beautiful. It needs a little bit of weathering, some paint, but the foundation is awesome. You can see, like, the chins, you line the chins up, my head's about an inch or two tall. You know, you gotta add the eyes up, and there's just not enough space from the nose to the mouth. I think that might be where it is. So, I don't know, man. I've got a lot of cutting to do on this, but I really thought I'd screwed up when I got it. I saw small. I was like, oh, I should have gone for skull mask, but I could not find any ones that looked good. You know, I want to cut the eyes out for the sunglasses I bought, which are not coming until Sunday. I got to wait a while. I wish those were coming sooner so I can figure this out because these eyes, they look kind of small too. I mean, I don't know, like, maybe they're about the same size as my eyes. I don't know. I mean, that's a really rough measurement. I don't know. I mean, I think what I'm going to do is kind of maybe split it around the nose, like kind of just do a curve cut like that on both sides to widen it. I don't know. I mean, I think the only thing to do is just start cutting it and splitting. I don't want to go too far. I'd like to have the sunglasses here so I know, do I need to cut through the eyes? Do I need to work around the eyes? I've got my work cut out for me either way. I got the skull for my belt, and it looks a little bit smaller than I was anticipating. But my belt being 5 inches, here's the temple for my belt. That's actually kind of the perfect height for the belt because, you know, I'm going for the alternate costume Scorpion has, and that belt looks like kind of a WWF like wrestler's belt thing, which is a little bit taller than I think this would be. But I don't actually want it that much bigger, so I think this is actually the perfect size. I'd like to keep, you know, this decorative part the same height as the, you know, the reference belt. This does have some filigree, so yeah, I wish it was bigger, but I think we can work with it. I just need to figure out where to cut it. I mean, on Scorpion's thing, there's no bottom jaw. It's just kind of cut from the head down, so I'm going to have to figure out which line I'm going to use to cut that. And the top does come off. I don't know why. I mean, there's no brain in there. There's a lot of detail. I don't know. I don't understand that. I don't know why it comes off. I will probably glue it because there's a seam there. I don't love that seam, so I'm going to fill that in. The jaw, there's a spring. I don't know why. I mean, even the teeth are very detailed. I mean, you can see molars, you can see everything. So I think that's where I'm at. I'd love to start working on the skull mask because I can't wait to put that on, see what it looks like. But I need the sunglasses. I just want to make sure that everything's going to work the way I want it to. Because if the sunglasses are a lot bigger than those eye holes, I may enlarge those eye holes to get that to work. There's a lot of things I could and should be doing, but I think I'm going to work on the belt. Then I'm going to work on the undershirt, the G. And I do need to mess with the tunic. You know, I need to cut the wool. I'm debating on, do I test it to see if a dye stripper will strip the wool of the color, or I just go for it all in, push my chips in. I'm kind of thinking just go for it. Because I feel pretty confident that it's going to strip the color out of the wool. I'm going to wash it first, just make sure if there's anything there, any kind of chemicals or any whatever. Wash it just by hand, scrub it nice with hot water. That should be fine for it. I don't know. Maybe I should test it, but I feel like I'm just going to be wasting some dye stripper. I don't know if I take a pinch of dye stripper. I don't know if it's a liquid or a powder. I think it's a powder. If I take a pinch, sprinkle it in water, and just like a little corner of the wool, will that do it? I don't know. I'm going to think about it a little bit more. For right now, I'm working this belt. But I do want this skull on it, because you can see, I'll show you the reference photo. So there's the reference photo. You've got the skull, you've got this WWF thing going on. I like the filigree. I probably won't do it that wide. I may come out just to this first little thing, because I like the way the belt looks on the reference photo. And I want to kind of keep that. You know, I like working with the goal, trying to recreate it. So it's time to get started. I've jabbered enough. The status on the belt, I've made this little, you know, mini WWF thing. I don't want it quite as big as this second reference photo with the alternate costume. Now I want it, the reference photo I'm basing off of, it has, you know, the little belt that looks just too minuscule for Scorpion anyway. It's got kind of this pouch overlap in the front, so I'm trying to make this part that width. And this does that. The skull's gonna be in the middle. Dropping it. The skull's gonna be about this big. So in the reference photo I'm basing off of, there's no lower jaw. It's just the top jaw. if I do that, it makes this seem kind of small for the piece I've cut out. If I keep the lower jaw, it just aesthetically, it fits better. So I'm keeping the lower jaw. I'm going to deviate from the reference photo. That's okay because I'm already deviating from the reference photo. So I'm deviating from a deviation from the reference photo. So I'm going to glue this bottom jaw in place because it's actually, there's a spring on it, but actually the jaw is not attached. It just pops right off. So I'm going to just glue it. I've got some Gorilla Glue. I'll glue the jaw bones here. I'll glue it at the teeth so it's nice and stable. And then I'm going to slice this thing because I'm hesitant to do it. I don't want to screw it up because you really only have one shot. I mean, once you cut it, it is what it is. But I kind of know the line I'm cutting, and I'm going to create a jig out of wood, run it through a bandsaw. If you didn't have a bandsaw, you use a hacksaw. You could use any kind of hand saw. I've got a bandsaw, so I'm going to take advantage of it. And then kind of see how this thing's fitting on here. I may start cutting the actual belt out of EVA foam. I know the size I want it to be. It's going to be the base. I still need to find the buckle. I'd love to do kind of a snap buckle like I have been using on my little fill-in belt. Like this is just a nice buckle right here. You just pop it in, easy to take out. I thought I had one. I can't find it. With this, I need to, the photos aren't great. I don't know if I'm going to do this out of the EVA foam, which is like the 3/8 of an inch. 3/8? 3/16? 3/8. 3/8 of an inch. And then I'm just going to do craft foam for the filigree. There's kind of like some gold filigree going on around the border. It looks like the helmet just fits flat against it. So I'm going to have to figure that out because the belt's going to curve a little bit. And so if I cut this straight, you'll have the gap around the edges. So I'm going to have to put a curve in this to fit the belt. I don't quite know how that's going to interface. So I need to cut this. Whatever my line is, I need to go back and give me a little bit extra room. So what I'm going to have to do is sand it or do something to kind of round it out. So because I want it to fit flush against the belt. And that belt, it's not going to be flat. It's going to curve a little bit. So that skull needs to curve as well to match. And that curves around my waist. So there's a lot of things to figure out. If I cut the skull a little bit longer than I need to, I'll better just sand it in there, be fine. First I need to glue it so that can be setting up. I thought I'd figured out my belt solution. It's going to be an EVA foam base, and so my thought was I'm going to take some nylon strapping, 1 inch, glue that to the back just because EVA foam is not super strong. With it being 5 inches tall, I'd put like 2 straps, one along the top, one along the bottom. And I'd use these, I think these are called like tri-clips, tri-rings, not tri-rings. It's try something, there's 3 bars. And how it works is I would run the nylon strapping through, and then you'd sew it on the back here where it's a loop, and this does not come off. Let's see if you can see that. And so then you'd run the rest of it. It'd run up, over, and back in, and that basically be my belt, and I just have 2 straps for the front because this big skull thing is going to hide it. Well, I realized I don't have any nylon strapping. This is all I've got. I usually try to keep some on hand because it's invaluable for costuming. If you need to hang a piece of another piece, you need to rig any kind of thing, nylon strapping is invaluable. Because I thought I'd like to do a snap buckle thing. I just didn't want to buy one. I thought, oh, I've got these things on hand, I can do it. Don't have the nylon strapping. I'm probably just going to go ahead and buy that because I always use that every year. That is just, you got to have some 1-inch nylon strapping if you're making costumes. If you're not using it, you're going to wish you'd known about it because you'd be using it. So, yeah, I thought I'd get that done. It is a good idea, but if I have to buy the nylon strapping, I might buy one of the snap rings if I can find like a 1-inch snap clasp. It's a snap clasp. I'm going to buy a snap clasp. I wouldn't need 2 because I don't want to buy wider than 1-inch nylon strapping because that's just what I use for everything else. I'll do 2. I might do 1, but I don't want it right in the middle because I think it might kind of twist and turn. I want that belt to be nice, snug, and secure, so that's why I need 2. Strap top and bottom. Gosh, I wish I had some. I really thought I did. But I'm going to go ahead and cut out this belt, the EVA foam backing. I know about what size I need. I've got a little bit of leeway because even if it doesn't quite meet, well, I've got this skull thing going in the middle. So if it's this far away, well, I'm still good. Like, I've got plenty of play there, which is always good. Like, you always want to have a plan where, like, what if it's not as big as I think? You want to have some variance because things don't always work out to exact measurements. So I'm going to cut out EVA foam. This nylon strapping idea, good idea. Don't have it. Going to have to buy it. These whatever. What are these called? I haven't known. Tri-clips? Not clips. Fasteners? Tri-fasteners? That doesn't sound right either. So I've started cutting the EVA foam belt. It is always best to get a fresh blade on your hobby knife. It's going to cut through that EVA foam better. It's going to give you a cleaner edge, which is what you want. Well, generally it's what you want. With this belt, I'm going to be covering it in leather, so it really doesn't matter how rough I get on it. I could have used a dull knife and booger up the edge. It wouldn't matter because I'm covering it in leather. I mean, you don't want it too messed up because, you know, it will show slight imperfections. This is a very crisp edge. I'm going to take some like 80 grit sandpaper, just round that off a little bit because I want this to look curved and soft, and I don't want that crisp of an edge. Now, I don't have one piece of EVA foam big enough, so what I'm doing is I'm going to glue these two pieces together, and you can see the texture on the inside. I'm going to use contact cement to glue EVA foam together. Contact cement is awesome with EVA foam. It is very strong. Now, I don't like having a seam right in the middle of the belt. If I put the strap on the inside like I plan to do, which again, I'll use contact foam, that's going to strengthen that joint as well. You know, if I wasn't going to have nylon strapping on the inside to reinforce it, what I may do is kind of cut like a square out or kind of a zigzag in there, because the more surface area you have, the stronger it will be. You know, just a straight butt joint, not the best. This is my contact cement. If you see, I cut and taped a little plastic bottle in here because I have all sorts of different little sticks and pieces of foam that I've used to apply the contact cement to EVA foam. It just gives you different options. You know, I got a stick to stir, stick to apply, all pieces of EVA foam to apply it. It's just nice to have this little thing on here. That way everything is there and you're not searching for like, where's that piece I knew I had? Because, you know, I can cut new EVA foam, but why do I need to do it every time if I got these little pieces that are ready to go? I always have a cutting mat. If I didn't have a cutting mat, I'd be tearing up this table. I want to tear up this table because I built this table and I want to make it last. I don't know, you know, with the WWF style champion belt, I think I'm going to do that out of EVA foam too. I mean, this is kind of on the thick side, but I feel like that part needs to be thick. I mean, for one, just to retain its shape, to also glue the skull on. I don't think it'll be strong enough otherwise. But it feels like it needs to be bigger. Now my filigree, I will do that in craft foam. It's got a border around it. It's got some little stuff around it. But that, I'm probably going to try to get that done now. Just do that belt. Still waiting on my skull head. It is gluing. The glue, you can see the glue is getting tacky. It's dripping all over the place, but I'm cutting the back half off, so it doesn't really matter. I just need it to dry up. So I recut my plate just so I have a good clean template to base that off of. I traced on the foam, then I cut the foam out. I did decide to do it at 3/8 to the EVA foam, 3/8 of an inch. And all the filigree and trim, I'll just do that in craft foam, and I'll cut that later, and I'll need to glue that to the top of it. But I just want to make sure to get a good clean template. So I guess this is technically a cummerbund. I've got that cut. Before I paint it, I will heat treat it. Basically, just take a heat gun and you'll heat the surface where this gets like a little shiny. It's slightly shiny. Heating, I also heat it so it'll curve. Like, it just doesn't curve quite right to my waist. I mean, you can kind of bend it, but it's going to go back flat. Heating will help. And I'll use that to make sure it keeps shape. I'll do the same with the EVA foam, just so it has a nice curve and it doesn't want to flatten out, because it always wants to flatten out. Up next, I need to cut all my filigree. I'm kind of thinking I need to wait until my skull is cut out and done, just because I want to trim that out just so. I mean, I could guess, but I'd like to see it all in place. We'll see how it goes. I may go ahead and do it, may wait. So a few things to note when you're gluing EVA foam together. You need to do 2 coats. I'll apply contact cement. I'll give it about 5-10 minutes because this foam is going to soak it up, and when it soaks it up, you're just not going to get a bond. So I'll let it soak up for 5 or 10 minutes. Then I'll reapply. Let it dry. You want it to be kind of tacky to the touch. You can do it wet if it's something if you let it get all the way dry and tacky, you've got one shot at sticking it. Because once you stick it together, it is done. You need to apply the contact cement to both surfaces. Now, if it's something like you want to get it quite right, and you're not sure if you can get it on the first try, leave it a little bit wet, put it together, and just kind of hold it in place as the glue dries, because the solvent is evaporating as you go. But something like this, I will just do both sides, let it get tacky, put it together, because this I can get right the first time. I mean, this is just boom, done. Now, when I do contact cement, I do wear a mask. What is it? When I do contact cement, I do wear a filter mask, because those are some strong fumes, and you don't want to breathe that stuff in. If it's something you can smell that's a strong fume, you don't want to be breathing it in. You want to be wearing a mask. So I've got my belt glued together. That contact cement, great bond, and since it's the same thickness material, it should blend right in. From comfort leather, it's going to be awesome. I do need to round these edges. They're just a little sharp. I think when I put the leather on it, it might round over by itself, but nah, it still looks pretty sharp. So I'm going to just round that over, like I said, sandpaper. May use a belt sander. But you can see, I mean, that's going to look good. You know, once I get black leather, it's going to look really good. It's going to look like a legit belt, which that's the purpose of this whole thing, is make it look legit. Cut this trim for this piece. I was trying to sketch on there what I thought. I did this line, it's too wide. Did the second line a little bit closer. Neither of these lines are quite right. I think it needs to curve a little bit more. That's, you know, the reference photo I'm basing off of curves more. I should have been looking at the reference photo, but sometimes you just get excited. You forget about these things. So I think it just needs to curve more. It probably needs to start somewhere closer. I need to get the skull in here actually planted so I can kind of, you know, trace around the skull and then come in with the jaw, which is what the reference one was probably following. So I'm going to leave this one for now. I need that skull fully dry. It's not quite, I mean, it's tacky, it's sticky, but I want to make sure it has a good bond, so I'm probably going to leave that overnight so I can be sure that's completely dry before I start cutting it up and messing it up. This I'm going to leave for now because I need that skull and I can't go anywhere there. I will sand this real quick, just this is ready to go, and that next time I mess with it, it's all set. I did order my nylon backing. I think what I had before is nylon. What I ordered is, I think they said like poly backing or poly web something. It's a little bit cheaper for my purposes. It would be fine. Most of the time I use it, you never see it anyway. Take care of this edge. I need to next, I think I'm going to start on the G, the undershirt. I mean, it looks like karate G. It kind of like swoops across the front. It's underneath the tabard, which is what I'm calling it, the sleeves. And I need to find a reference point. I might use the long sleeve shirt I had from Mandalorian. I might try that on, see if that will be a good starting. That gives me a good reference point where, you know, I can trace out this sleeve. So I know, okay, if I cut a sleeve this size, it'll do this. I'm not sure how much upholstery foam I have. I'm looking over there. I think I have enough. Maybe, you know, I would just want upholstery foam, kind of put one at the bicep, one at the tricep, maybe shoulder, just to buff my arm up a little bit, man. I mean, Scorpion's a ripped dude, and I'm not as ripped as him. Quick tip, you know, I was tracing lines on my little foam trim with a ruler. I put this paper here because if you don't, the Sharpie, it'll get on the plastic. Plastic is not absorbent. So then as the ruler touches everything else, it'll get Sharpie on that, on me, on foam, on everywhere. So the paper will absorb it, and then I can just take the paper off, toss it. You gotta clean that so I'm not getting Sharpie everywhere. And the Sharpie is very useful for EVA foam. It's great to transfer it, good lines. But if you're not careful, you know, you'll smear it on you and everything else in your path. So I'm always a proponent of testing things first. I said, you know, I was gonna sand this edge. I used a belt sander. It's a lot quicker. So I don't know if you can see that profile. This is the unsanded edge. It's very sharp. It's a 90-degree corner. This, I just rounded off ever so slightly. And man, the piece of leather, it looks great on that rounded edge. It's just a nice contour. Very smooth. Whereas, you know, you look at it on the 90-degree, it looks unnatural. Like there's no way leather should be that sharp of a curve on it. So I think that's enough. And I might try taking this a little bit further. But even like this, I mean, that looks exactly how I envisioned that belt look. Now, you know, assuming this was black leather, but I can see this black. So I'm going to go ahead, get the rest of the belt, put it on the belt sander. You can do it by hand. Belt sander's quicker. Why not? So I was going to use the Mandalorian top to just see what size the G needs to be, but that's a whole jumpsuit, and I don't want to do that. I found this shirt, and it's a little snug. You can see my arm's massive right here. I just had a block of foam, very similar to this, a little bit smaller, this kind of foam. I just put it in the shirt to see what it looked like. I mean, it's square, you know, so I'd have to shape it, but yeah, it kind of gives some bulk to my arm. I'd need a tricep. I probably would need the shoulder to as well. I mean, I'd probably get away with just that. I mean, I'm going to have bracers from the elbow down. So I think the only issue is I was thinking I could attach the foam to the shirt or the G or whatever it's called. But, you know, if the shirt moves around, I could have a really deformed looking arm. So if I'm doing it, I would almost need to have a long sleeve undershirt with the foam glued to that and then the G on top of that. I mean, these sleeves are just a little too narrow. I think I need a little bit more, you know, a little more size to it. But I think this could work. You know, if you cut this down to kind of the crescent type shape that a bicep would be, I think it would definitely add some mass to my arms, which would, you know, when you look at that arm, I mean, you know, it's not that big. Look at that, like a big old bicep, you know, I'm looking more like Scorpion, you know, put a tricep and a shoulder on there. I think we're onto something. I'm not going to use this shirt as a base, it's a little small. I need to find something just a little bit baggier. I think, you know, once putting the foam in there, this is just not going to work. This is a dress shirt, work shirt type thing that's not meant for such things. So I found this shirt. This is a little bit bigger, but you know, the bigger shirt is just, it looks baggier in the arm. I don't know. It just, to me, I can't quite see the mass as well. I mean, I guess I kind of can. I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot more space in this shirt. One may say too much space. I don't know. Another shirt's a lot more form-fitting, which would show off the muscles, but the tighter the shirt, the better I have to cut these muscles and sculpt them to make them look realistic, which is a little tricky. I don't know. I mean, you might could buy a muscle suit, but I would just need a muscle arm. It's probably more expensive than I want to pay. I'm gonna have to play that. I think I probably need to cut some more foam to kind of see what space it take up. I don't know. I mean, I like that this is a little bit baggier, but it's almost too baggy. Maybe I take the brown shirt and this shirt and I'd split the difference. I'm gonna have to think on that one.